Day 5 of Patriots training camp, and the pads came on. The heat's back up. The intensity picked up as well. We're here to break it all down for you. Everybody to the Patriots training camp cast. We are coming to you from the side of Gillette Stadium, high above the practice fields, where the Patriots just completed about an hour-and-a-half session, fully padded for the first time this summer. Intensity picked up a little bit. We got into team drills. They started out at the high 30s. They worked their way in towards the goal line a little bit. Finally, Paul, a little something more to chew on as the pads came on.
Yeah, a lot of running game work, and I'm going to just sort of step aside, make way, because I know this is where my boy Evan likes to shine with the trenches reports, but I did think there was some good physicality on both sides of the line.
That was great. Ev, you were going crazy all practice. You live for this stuff.
This is it right here.
But let's start with one-on-ones, because we can't get to team periods until we did our live show.
Sorry, Ev, I tried to tee you up. The boss man says no.
We're not going to start with the perfectly executed wham block by Brock Lampy right in the A-gap. It was beautiful. When I saw that, I was like, hell yeah, real football is back. Let's go.
We're talking real football. Of course, but like I said, everything started out with some one-on-ones down there. We were all trying to focus on the offensive line and the defensive line, because has a little bit more, I guess, application to real football slightly, other than the poor cornerbacks trying to cover the receivers down here at the other end. But overall, Ev, just what was your big takeaway from watching those one-on-ones as we got started?
Well, I'm sure a lot will be made about the rep with Keon White against Will Campbell, where Keon did get the better of Campbell there. But I know you want to do one-on-ones, but I want to just mention that once we got to team, Campbell looked a whole lot better than he did in that one rep. So we'll get to that in a second. But overall, I thought the offensive line held its own in that drill. I thought Mike Onwenu had a nice win. Cole Strange had a nice win on Milton Williams that caught the eye as well. And even City So put a guy on the ground.
City So may have had the best individual rep of that
so
group.
I thought that they held their own there. A couple wins there for Chazon. I mentioned the one by Keon White against Campbell, but it was good to see those drills. And I actually, not to finger wag the people that are watching the other stuff, but the O-line, D-line stuff has real translation to games, whereas there's not a whole lot of instances where corners are truly on an absolute island with no safety help and no pass rush and nothing whatsoever for those wide receivers. But the O-line, D-line stuff, that's translatable stuff to the actual 11-on-11.
Yeah, I thought the lines, Mike, both the first and second groups that we got to see, I thought they consistently moved the line of scrimmage. I thought there was some push in the run game. Wasn't all perfect, but I agree with Evan. I thought once they got into team periods, all of those guys collectively looked better.
Yeah, it felt to me a little bit like a continuation of Saturday, just as far as the back and forth, some competitiveness. We saw, some of the plays, the defense getting some stops in the backfield. I know Jabril Peppers made a little pop that stood out even up here as well. But once things did get into team periods, we were looking at first and second downs, like I said, starting into the high red zone, and then they worked their way down. Paul, just what did you take away from some of those drills as well?
So, like I said, I thought the run game was pretty solid. I thought Stevenson had a couple of runs that looked like, to me, he might have been able to get into the end zone under normal circumstances. Trevion Henderson, a little bit less so, but his quickness is hard to miss. He had one really nice cutback on a play that, I didn't think there was much there initially, and he made a nice cut to it. So I did think that the run game, I will point out before people start to get, the offensive line had a better day. The pass protection is still a work in progress.
Yeah.
Still a work in progress.
A lot of running today.
Yeah, we can get to that in a second, but I just got to gush about Will Campbell for a second. I thought in the team periods he was just outstanding. I mean, just moving the line of scrimmage, caving guys in on down blocks, executing combos. Ramondre cut right off his left hip for what we thought was probably a touchdown watching it from up here. He got Milton Williams once or twice on the ground. That's pretty hard to do. So we knew coming into this, elite run blocker in college, maybe a little bit more seasoning necessary in pass pro, and I think that's held serve here through the first 5 days of camp for Will Campbell. His run blocking stuff, he might already be great at that. Like, that might be right out of the gate a strength of his, and I thought that he was really terrific throughout the entire team period. I mean, this is your first padded practice, and you're already putting frontline NFL players into the ground. That's a really good sign.
Yeah, I'm excited to see, though, once we progress into third down territory. And then we've got a little bit more of what might be the challenges towards Will Campbell. Guys, a number of housekeeping things we got to bring up. Of course, the headline from this practice was Christian Gonzalez limped off, did not return for practice, did go under his own power, wasn't carted off, but never a great sign to see your number one cornerback go down like that and not finish practice.
Yeah, it's obviously cause for concern when you get, frontline guys like that don't make it through practice. Evidently, it was the first play of team. We kind of didn't really see the rep. I think he went against Booty in the one-on-ones. It didn't go really well. And then, right away on the first team rep, he didn't practice the rest of the way. So that's something that we're going to have to keep an eye on. He was grabbing his legs, so we don't want to speculate what the injury is. We'll just have to keep an eye on that. But some good news on the injury front. Mike's guy, Jalen Polk, made it back on the field today, caught a touchdown pass and one of the red zone drills very late from Drake May. So he's back in uniform. Josh Minkins was one of the rookie safeties on NFI. He also was back in uniform. So some good and bad. Obviously, Gonzalez is going to be the story of the day, though. I know people are going to lose their minds over it. Let's sort of hold back on that and wait to get more information.
Yeah, it did look like he was maybe grabbing at the back of his leg a little bit, like a hamstring area. I know we don't want to speculate too much, but that to me, even though those things can linger a little bit, is the best case scenario. Like it didn't look like it was a major injury from my perspective because of that, but we'll see what happens with him. And without him and Carlton Davis out there, there was some depth issues there at corner. So Alex Austin stepped up. Marcellus Dial, who I actually thought had a really nice practice out here, was very active in the run game.
Physical guy in the run game.
Playing in that nickel spot, which I think is interesting just from a body type perspective. A little bit bigger, a little bit more physical than a Marcus Jones. Marcus Jones was also out there as well. So it seemed like it was a lot of Austin, Dial, Marcus Jones after Gonzo left practicing with no Davis.
And we didn't have Davis,
Yeah. Well, you guys mentioned it. Davis, kind of a day on, day off. We haven't really seen him since the walkthrough. So clearly Davis is still dealing with something, even though coming off that NFI list. Giovanni Tavai, who left practice on Saturday, he was not active, might have had a setback from the calf injury that he suffered. Otherwise, kind of similar rotations, just to say, along the offensive line with Morgan Moses coming in, Garrett Bradbury coming in at the start, and then Jared Wilson as well as Trey Jacobs getting some work. So those rotations continue. Again, not a ton of work, all first and second down in the red zone, but they got the pads on. Last thing I want to bring up, guys, is just an interesting development in the kicker competition, if you want to call it that. Parker Romo getting all of the reps today. I believe it was 6 total reps.
Yeah, and he made them all.
And he made all 6 of them. So Borregales on the sideline, maybe watching a little bit, maybe trying to ratchet up the pressure a tiny bit on the rookie, but interesting opportunities for Romo today.
Yeah, ranging from about 33 to 52 yards, so they weren't all little chip shots. So, you start at that extra point level, you work your way out. All you can do is make the kicks that you try, and it's been. I don't think there's been a ton of reps for either kicker, but the ones that they've had, I think Romo's been the more accurate guy so far.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see if tomorrow is a Andy Borregales day, and they kind of go that direction with it instead of splitting the reps, because you only have so much time to work on field goal and special teams. So maybe it's 6 today for Romo, 6 tomorrow for Borregales, and they go that way the rest of the way. Can we talk about the fullback again, though?
Please go. If you want to work one more reference, then go ahead. Brock Lampy.
The Brock Lampy was out there leading the way, fullback. Just a couple of other guys quickly that stood out in the trenches. I thought that Caden Wallace had a few nice blocks at left guard, and he's been working predominantly at guard in this camp and not much at tackle. So the left guard competition, I would say right now it's between Cole Strange, Caden Wallace, and potentially Jared Wilson as well. Jared Wilson had another issue with the snap with Drake May.
Yeah.
And so maybe, I don't know if center is a lot on you. You got to snap the ball. You got to have it between the ears. Maybe guard is the way on the field for him, faster than center at this point. And then I thought Chazon was really active in this practice too on the line of scrimmage. I had him down for 2 sacks. I got Morgan Moses on one, which is a little bit on my radar with Moses, but I thought Chazon looked nice out there as well.
Yeah, I also saw Chazon after practice working with Trey Jacobs a little bit, giving him some tips about, pads. Just a reminder, Jacobs only, I guess, in his 3rd season here, so still developing. So we are on to the 2nd week, I guess, of training camp, what we're going to call it, but pads are staying on for tomorrow as well as Wednesday, so there's going to be plenty more to digest. Stick with us. We'll wrap up all of these practices for the Patriots Training Camp Cast.